Well, welcome to How We Met. I'm Sheryl Strich, and every month we'll be meeting with two couples from Laguna Woods who tell us how they met. Today, the first couple today are Linda and Rabbi Joe Mendelson. Rabbi Joe is I wrote it down so I wouldn't get anything, I wouldn't miss anything. Rabbi Joe is the rabbi, which I knew, of the Reformed Temple of Laguna Woods. He's involved in the interfaith and cultural organizations in the community, and he's a spiritual leader in our community. Linda is the advocacy chair for the National Council of Jewish Women, a facilitator for the Jewish President's Council, and bless my heart, an avid pickleball player. You can't escape it here. There are 500 pickleball players in the club. You can't escape them coming on my show. Anyway, I invited Linda and Rabbi Joe to come on before the crisis, the war in Israel. And I feel like my show is a little frivolous about what's going on and the wonderful thing that Rabbi Joe has done in our community. So I really thank you for coming on. Thank you so much.
It's both of our pleasure.
And I really appreciate the vigil that you conducted for our community following the bombing in Israel. So thank you.
Thank you. You know, it was an important thing to do. But one of the things that I do want to remark is that your show is not frivolous. One of the values that Israel has always shown is when something happens, the next thing is you move on and you do what you need to do. You go back to as normal a life as you can. So this show is really just doing that.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's get to business. Here are my questions. Where are you from?
I'm from New Jersey, born and raised. I didn't move out here till I was about in my 20s. Came out to work in the summer through my junior and senior year in college and decided this is where I wanted to live. And so I made my way out here.
And Rabbi Joe, where are you from?
I'm from California. I'm a third generation Angelino.
Wow. Who knew?
Yeah.
Not too many.
Mom was born out here. My grandfather came out early on. He had been a secretary for Samuel Gompers in the AFL-CIO.
Oh.
And no one knows why he left, but he came out here. And Dad came from New York, but I was born out here and lived my life, most of it, in LA area and then Orange County.
Okay. Next question. Now I forgot it. Next question is, how long have you been in the village?
We've been here 12 years. In 2008, we were coming out for a visit, and we had lived here originally, moved so he can go to rabbinical school, and we said, well, wow, after that big boom, the bubble, we sold before the bubble. We said, well, we never could afford to go back to California. Right. But during the 2008 recession, our friends said, bring your checkbook. And we did. And we always knew we wanted to retire here. My mother lived here, all our friends' parents lived here, and we loved it here.
Right.
And so...
Took us about half a day.
By 12 o'clock, we were signing the contract.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Okay, and last question. How long have you been a couple?
About 40 years. We just celebrated our 40th anniversary this year.
Congratulations.
And we're just, it's been a wonderful life.
I know, it's great here. Okay, let's get to business. How'd you meet?
We met at Temple Elah in Mission Viejo.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah. There was a temple in Mission Viejo that later closed and merged with Bethel in Aliso Viejo.
But still many of the members belong to Bethel, so we get to see some of the members who we grew up with, our children grew up with. And
Did somebody introduce you?
I was going to say,
yes.
You tell that part.
It's actually funny. Linda had been a member for quite some time. I had decided it was time to look for a synagogue. So I was checking around, and I walked in, and I was alone, of course. And Linda's mother happened to walk up to me as a lone person and introduce herself, and I said I was looking, and she introduced me to Linda and her friends because they had been involved so much in the temple.
Right.
She said they'll be able to answer your questions. That took us 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and that was it. I mean,
it was not love at first sight, but
nothing special.
Special?
No, not at that time.
No, he was just a nice looking gentleman who was looking for a temple, and so I gave him the name of the administrator who he needed to come in and talk to, and that really was the end of our first conversation.
So then what happened?
We had been each involved in our own things, and maybe a year later, I guess, the temple was moving. It was moving from Lake Forest, at that point El Toro, to Mission Viejo. I was involved in packing up a lot of the things in the building side of the temple.
So this was a year later?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was doing that, and Linda was involved in preschool packing and other things. And we found ourselves working at the same time, oftentimes alone in the temple. And we just got to talking, and that was the start of a relationship because we just allowed things to slowly move into a relationship.
We became good friends first.
Yeah.
Was there a first date?
Oh, yes. I don't know after how long it was, and he said, "Can I ask you out for a date?" And I said, "Try it." And he did, and we
it worked.
did.
So where'd you go?
Where'd we go on the first date?
We went to the bar in San Clemente. It was just a relaxing bar, and I love to play instruments. I've always played instruments.
That's right.
And they had an air guitar and an air this, and just a goofy type thing. And I played the thimbles. Put thimbles on the four fingers, and this was a percussion instrument. It was that kind of a bar and stuff. And we just had a great time, relaxing and a lot of fun.
I got to meet his friends, and it was just a fun experience. And I went, this worked, and then we continued to date.
So how soon after that did you...
About a year and a half we got
I
married.
was going to say 18 months, so yeah.
And how many kids do you have now?
We have 3.
And how many grandchildren?
1.
One grandchild.
So we have 1 in Northern California, in Orinda, 1 in the Valley, in Sherman Oaks, and 1 in Las Vegas.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nobody's roamed too far from home.
That's great. So now you have 4th generation Angelino children? Or 3rd?
Yes. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
4th.
You never hear of that.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have to tell you, Linda, you're really dear to my heart because I know you grew up in Patterson, right?
Right.
I grew up in Pompton Lakes.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I grew up in Pompton Lakes. Patterson was the big city, and that's where there was a YMCA, and my mother would take me there for swim lessons on the bus from Pompton Lakes.
It was the
YWHA or something?
Yeah, HA.
Yeah.
I was very, very active there.
I never met you there.
And it's interesting because I swam. Did you swim with Willie Singer?
I was 8 years old, and all I knew was I was going to have to take a bus home with a horrible hat on my head because it was winter and my mother made me do that. That was all I could focus on.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I always hear these stories. You never have Angelinos having this kind of story back
That
and forth.
misery.
Well, no.
Sun.
Everybody seems to have come into the woods from somewhere else.
Right.
You know, just lately have I really had conversations like that with people from California or from Southern California.
Right. You don't.
We're a minority.
And my children who grew up here decided to move in cold places. Only one moved to a cold place, but who would do that?
Yeah, no, our children did not. Our daughter went one day, our oldest, who wanted to go to school back east, and grew up here, and went to a Shabbatot or something.
Yeah, the
convention.
youth movement
Right.
convention.
And so she said, "Oh, it's snowing out. It's so beautiful, Mom. Oh, I want to live here." She went outside, and an hour, maybe a half hour later.
Right.
She was making snow angels, was so excited. She came upstairs and said, throw away the applications. I don't know how anyone would
Right.
possibly choose to live in this kind of weather.
There you go. There you go. So,
But growing up here, they didn't have the seasons.
right.
You know, we do have seasons, but not like
Nothing.
back east with the beautiful leaves turning and everything else.
Where you're freezing
So-
cold and the bugs come out in the summer and
There are some trees that turn, and I took a picture of one and sent it to my friends back east and said, my fall. There are leaves on the ground. And
So when you met, you were not a rabbi, correct?
Correct. I didn't become a rabbi until, well, I was ordained when I was 51.
That must have been pretty busy.
yes, we were taking a cruise on Newport Harbor, and we went out in the moonlight and the harps, and our last child was going off to college, and I said, so what are we going to do with the rest of our lives?
And I was dumbfounded. I went, well,
we
I'm
both
thinking
had our
of
own
this, thinking of that.
business. We had a beautiful home, and he goes,
And where was that?
in Lake Forest.
Lake Forest. Oh, okay.
And he said, well, what are our options? And I do not know where it came from, except that he always was busy at the temple and covering for the rabbis. And I said, well, why don't you become a rabbi?
At which point I said, a what? Are you kidding? And it was probably the best decision. Well, no, it isn't. It definitely is the best decision we ever made. Becoming
After
a
our
rabbi.
marriage.
Yes. Well, that's when the we started.
Yes, it was, because we thank you for making that decision.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it's just been very, it was a comfortable move.
Right.
It's something
what
that
was meant to be.
I did not realize.
Would we say it was Beshert? Beshert?
That
Definitely.
It was meant to
often
be.
used, yeah.
It was meant to be. You know, I want to thank, we could talk on, but we only had 13 minutes. So I want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. And it's been really fun talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
It's our
inviting
pleasure.
us, and good luck on your new show.
Thank you. Well, our next couple is Roseanne and Greg Corigliano. Greg plays pickleball with me every Sunday, of course, another pickleball player. And Roseanne plays mahjong with me, and both Greg and Roseanne are involved with the Chicago Club. Roseanne is on the board of the Chicago Club, and Greg is a committee person on the Chicago Club. So thank you very much for what you do. And oh, I forgot, Greg is also a very avid golfer, which is why we're filming today instead of on Wednesday, because that's his golf day. Anyway, thanks for coming in.
Thank
It's
you.
such
Thank
a
you.
pleasure to have you. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that you are original pickleball club, you were the original pickleball club members. So here we are. Okay, I told you what the questions are going to be, and here we go.
Okay.
Where are you from?
I'm from Long Island, New York, and came out here in 1980 with Greg together.
And Greg?
I'm from Bensonhurst, Brooklyn,
Yay,
United
Brooklyn.
States of Brooklyn. As the saying goes, you can take the boy out of Brooklyn, but you can't take the Brooklyn out of the boy.
I gave you time to figure this out. How long have you been a couple?
We've been a couple over 60 years. We've been married 59 of those years.
Ooh.
And we just celebrated in September our 59th anniversary.
Oh, congratulations. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, we've been around a long time. We're older than dirt, so it's, but thank God we're really
healthy
blessed.
and fine.
Yeah, we hope to have many more years. And,
I hope so, too.
Yeah, it's fun.
Just be careful when you're driving that golf cart.
Oh yeah, it goes fast.
I know it does. Okay, was it my last question? Oh,
No,
yeah.
that was your first.
How long have you been in Laguna Woods?
17 years. We came to Laguna Hills in 1980 from New York, and I was never moving in here because it was all old people. So now that I am an old people or person, we love it in here. It's like having a cruise on land. You know, there's
true.
something to do. If you're a busy person, you could stay busy, which I do constantly, and there's so much to get into. And it's just nice having so many people around you because everybody is a support system.
That's true.
And it's just wonderful in here. It really is. It's a nice way to grow older.
It really is.
Yeah, it is.
It really
It's
is.
perfect.
Yeah.
It's like a college campus
Right.
for older people.
That's
and
right.
so much to do, and you can still educate yourself, and it's a warm feeling.
Before we go on into how you met, why did you happen to come to California from New York?
That's my story.
Okay.
We came out here in 1978 with the kids in August. And we went to San Francisco, and we came all the way down, all of California, San Diego, LA,
Shorten.
Phoenix, and back in Grand Canyon and back home. Everybody we asked about the weather, they said it was boringly nice. I like boringly nice. We got back in November of 1978. We were snowed in for 5 days. Okay, they had to come in with trucks and payloaders to get the snow out. I got frostbite in 3 fingers, and I looked at it and said, what are we doing here? This is crazy. I can't take the cold. I shiver and shake. I can play golf in 105-degree weather. I can't. It goes below 40, I'm toast. So changed jobs because my company wouldn't move me out here. So I changed jobs, and 2 years later, we were out here. And just, it was an experience. It was crazy. It was culture shock. It was every financial shock. But thank God we're here.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
No,
We made it.
You made it. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. How did you meet?
We both worked in a company. I was an illustrator. I went to art college, and then I didn't want to be an art teacher, so I got into the business. And Greg came in one weekend doing freelance for the company, and I wasn't there, but I always had goodies on my tabouret, and so he took some of the candy.
Took
and
a red
left
lollipop.
a red
He took her
lollipop,
candy?
and left me a note. I owe you 1 red lollipop. And then later in the week, he called a person. Well, I shouldn't say a personal friend. It was a friend that we both had, and he hung up with this man, and the other man said to me, Roseanne, Greg would like to speak to you. So I went on the phone, and I said to him, you owe me 1 red lollipop, I gather. And he said, yes, that or dinner. And that started it.
Ooh.
And then you can finish
Pretty
if you want.
suave.
Well, anyway, I lived in Brooklyn, went out to Long Island. I was working in New York at the time. But anyway, we went to this seafood restaurant in Lindenhurst, Long Island. And we sat down and we started talking, and the first course came, and we kept talking, and the first course left. We started talking some more. The second course came and left. We had dessert, came and left. We didn't eat. I don't think we ate 2 bites out of anything, okay? And we just kept talking, but it was like visiting an old friend that you knew either in a prior life or from before. And it was just so interesting that our backgrounds were so the same. But the interesting part was I was engaged to somebody else.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. This is
At that time?
at that time.
When you asked her to go out on a
Right.
date? Oh,
Right.
You were supposed
Greg.
to be married in May.
I was
This
supposed to be married the
December.
following May, and this was in
Greg.
December. But my relationship was an off and on kind of thing. We were always at each other, always fighting. And I'm saying to myself, do I really want to do this? Here I met this person that was, and I told her, from the outset, I said, I don't know where this is going. We were very honest with each other. We shook hands after there was no kissing, no touching, other than the shaking of hands. And I went back and told my girlfriend, hey, this isn't going to work. It just isn't going to work. And we gave all the engagement gifts back and everything else because I met the love of my life. And it's been that way. She's my best friend, always will be my best friend. A person I could count on for the rest of my life. It was just so, I don't know. I loved her family. Everything about it was perfect for me. Okay, I don't know that she felt the same way.
Of course.
It just...
And then I just took over, and that was it.
And she's been running things ever since.
Well, that's true. When I just spoke to Rabbi Joe and Linda, I used the word beshert. Beshert is Yiddish, and it means it's meant to be.
Right.
It's meant to be.
Yes.
That's the way we feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Perfect.
And it's been a lot of years. We have 2 daughters, which I know you know, and they're wonderful ladies. And then from then, the family grew because my son-in-laws are wonderful, and I have the best 2 grandchildren. I know every grandmother says it, but mine are better. And, and life is really good, and we've been blessed with good health, so hopefully we'll be around in the village for a long time.
Well, I hope so.
I hope so too.
I hope so. You mentioned before we went on why you're wearing a pink shirt.
Oh, I really feel strongly about women's breast cancer awareness, because we had a daughter that has gone through it, and she did such a marvelous job with her strength, and she's fine today, and we just hope it'll always be that way. But I feel for all the other ladies that have gone through it, and I think so much more has to be done in women's health, and so I'm a big proponent of it.
Thank you.
Our daughter, when it touches somebody else, it's somebody else. But when it touches you or your family, it becomes personal.
Right.
And our daughter showed the strength and courage to do things that, and it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Right.
And that's where she was, her affliction was.
Right.
So to all women out there, or to any cancer survivors, our heart goes out to them, because we know that worry, that fear,
right.
And how it touches you emotionally and physically.
Right.
But yes, it is very special to us.
Right. Right. So I'm glad that you're doing. I'm glad we can mention it today.
Right. I'm really glad
important.
too, because I see a lot of ladies wearing pink, and usually they have that little insignia that is so only for cancer and only, I think, for breast, but it's so important to all women, and I just love the way that it's become a topic of discussion and an open topic of discussion.
I just have to mention this. We are filming in October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness.
Yes.
This will be aired in November.
Okay,
So
right.
Roseanne is wearing a pink shirt in honor of October Breast Cancer Awareness. We have to film a month ahead of time.
That's true.
Timing is everything.
Because we're slow in Laguna Woods. What can I tell you?
Hey, we're old. We deserve it.
Because we move slowly.
Yes.
So why don't you tell me about your family? Tell me about some of the trips that you're taking, the family trips.
Well, we go away every Christmas to Puerto Vallarta, and there's one resort that the family all loves, and it is an adult resort, and we just have a great time together. And we have 2 close friends that always join us every year. They're really family, Tom and Lonnie, and it's just a place. Now that the children, I shouldn't say children, my grandsons are adults, and now we have a new granddaughter who's married into the family, and her sister, and everybody just comes, and we just take them all down there, and we have a wonderful week of thinking about nothing but each other and fun, fun, fun. And of course, put a bunch of boys, I should say put a bunch of men together, and a couple of drinks and a pool, and everybody becomes 7 years old again. And it's just fun.
It's more than a couple of drinks.
Okay, so
The truth be told.
So here's the deal. You had 2 daughters growing up. What was it like then to have grandsons?
Oh, I loved it, because I didn't know what it was like to raise boys. And boys are so comical. They do anything to get into like little mischief. And they're such warm and wonderful boys until this day, even though one's almost 30, they're men. And they just always call and always have something to say. And they still call me Muma from when they were little. And I didn't choose it, they did. And it's so funny that when we used to go off to their college to see them, all their friends would call us Muma because it was stupid.
How did you get that name?
One of the older boys started saying that he couldn't say grandma, so he said it. I accepted it, and I'm still there.
We know some older folks that they picked their grandparent name.
Yeah,
they wanted to spell.
Right.
We just let the kids, I'm Poppy, she's Muma, and it's been that way forever.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, even when we talk, I mean, the younger one is 26, the other one's 30, and it's always Muma and Poppy. Thanks, Poppy, love you, Poppy. And when she talks about warm and wonderful, I guess being Italian, there's a lot of huggy kissy stuff.
Right.
And my grandson, even though they're men, it's always huggy kissy and whatever. Even my son-in-laws. I mean, it just it's warm, and it's great to have that kind of integrated family.
Right.
There's no animosities. There's no throwing daggers at each other, and and we hear so many stories that some families get a little bit tense at times. we've got a really, really wonderful
And
family.
anybody that walks in our front door gets a hug. You know that.
That is
Yeah,
true.
yeah, it's the way it works.
You know what, guys? I could go on and on
I
and on
know.
forever, but I just got the 2-minute warning.
That's cool.
So thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you so much for coming
Thank you
on.
for
I
having
really
us.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
And
And I love the show. I'm hoping it just takes off and it becomes a really big show, because it's wonderful to watch. Thank you, Sheryl.
It's an insight so that other people can see that what this is really, you know, when we lived in Laguna Hills, our kids, when we told them that they almost had a heart attack, you're going into Cardiac Canyon, Seizure World?
Greg, shh.
They had
We
all
have
of
to
these,
stop.
you know, it's fine.
Okay.
They'll cut, whatever.
Anyway, thank you very
Thank
much. You guys are great. If you'd like to come on to the show, email us at lwvcouples@gmail.com. Include your name, phone number, and email address, and brief description of your story.